In this video, we meet Ian Peel, aka Pitchside Peely, and he talks about Arsenal 0, Notts Forest 1, and the fact that he's been a Notts Forest supporter for over 64 years. Amazing. Enough from me, on with the game.
So Ian, just give us a rundown. I mean, how long have you been a supporter with Notts Forest?
I've been a supporter all my life. My first game was, I think, in the late 1950s. 1959 maybe, 1960 maybe. Nottingham Forest away at Sheffield Wednesday at Hillsborough. That was the first game that I ever went to.
Can you remember the score?
No, I can't remember the score, but I can remember us standing on what was the Spy and Cop.
Yeah.
And that brought back memories because in later years I was at Hillsborough when all the people were killed, and we stood basically in the same place.
Oh, good heavens. Now, I mean, you've had a tremendous weekend just gone, haven't you?
Yeah, we've had a bit of a surprise this weekend.
Well, tell us about that.
A really pleasant surprise that we've managed to retain our Premiership status with one game to go.
Who have you got next?
Who we've got just one game left, which is Crystal Palace away on next Saturday.
Yeah.
When I'll be in New Quay and I won't have to go back to the pub and watch it, or we'll give it a miss, or we'll probably watch it, but it's actually Sunday, not Saturday. Sunday afternoon, 4:30, they all kick off, but we're under no pressure. Yeah. Our objective was, in the Premiership, there are basically, it's one division, but there are 3 leagues in one division. Okay, there is the top 6 league, there is the middle league of about 10, and then there's the bottom league. And the bottom league is, I reckon, 5, okay? So we've managed to finish top of the bottom 5 league.
See, that's an achievement in itself though, isn't it?
It is, because I was hoping that we would finish second in the bottom 5 league, which meant that we would have been fourth from the bottom and it would have still stayed up. But to stay up with one game to go is absolutely magnificent. Okay, so much so that on Saturday evening when I came home, we got home about 9:15. I said to my wife, there's no way I'm going to sleep tonight, and that's quite right. So into the spare bed I went and stopped annoying her, and 2 o'clock I was still awake, and 6:30 I was awake again on Sunday morning. I looked at every review, I listened to every YouTube, couldn't believe my eyes. Told my son-in-law that, and he said yes, he'd done exactly the same. It was a terrific day. I went to a year ago on next Monday was the Championship playoff in Wembley, which I went to, which was an absolutely fantastic day.
Let's just stop there, all right? Because that's a nice little starting point, yeah? I mean, Steve Cooper came in, didn't he?
Yeah.
What did you think about, when that changeover happened, and Coops came in?
Well, it had to be because we were bottom of the Championship. So it was anybody was better than, I'm sure it was Chris Hooton at the time.
It was Hooton, yeah.
And they wanted him out. They wanted him out for ages.
Which actually begs the question, I mean, why do you think players respond better to one manager than they do another?
Because if they don't like him, they won't play for him.
It's just as simple as that.
Yeah, I reckon so. I don't know, I'm not an expert, but you can see that players are motivated by the manager. Some don't like his tactics.
You reckon that's what went wrong with Hooton?
It's all to do, yeah, he just wasn't liked by the fan base, the way that they play. Forest have a way of playing. They like to play the ball on the ground, and,
right.
And you've got the time from Brian Clough, so all of that of playing, not just banging it up in the air.
So 1 minute, you just mentioned Cloughie there.
Yeah.
Yeah. What was so special about Cloughie?
Well, he could motivate he motivated the people. You've only got to listen to what the ones who are left talk about it. He was a special manager, and I think that I don't know how good he was as a coach. I think that Peter Taylor was probably the coach. I don't know. I can't. I wasn't that familiar with how they worked. I went to watch them, of course. But Steve Cooper is a man manager.
He's certainly done well, hasn't he?
Well, he's taken 30 players, different nationalities, different languages at the beginning of the season, and he's moulded them into a very tight unit, and you could see that at the end of the game on Saturday.
You see, that actually takes some doing in itself, doesn't it?
Absolutely, it was a huge challenge. So actually retaining our place in the Premiership is probably as big an achievement as getting out of the Championship.
I did hear, because I listened to the old post debates and everything else, and he actually said that he couldn't call anybody to ask people for advice on how to actually go forward with these games, and just to keep going and go, because it's never been done before.
No, what he said was at the weekend, when he was a manager at Swansea. Well, first of all, he's only been in first team management for 4 seasons.
Yeah.
Okay, he was, but he managed the England under 21s or when they won the World Cup. So he had people like Phil Foden. He had Morgan Gibbs White. So he was used to winning a lot of games. Won a lot of games in Swansea, got them to the playoffs, but they failed in the playoffs. Got a lot of wins for Forest in the Championship, and then realised that this year he wasn't going to get a load of wins. He was going to get a lot of defeats, and he'd never suffered defeats before. So he said, I had to sit myself down and think about how am I going to deal with defeats. And his attitude was, all I can be is I'm going to be the best manager that I can be.
And you can't say any further than that, can you?
And that's what him turned out to be.
I mean, what's interesting there is the fact that management backed him. Because there were some people, weren't there, that were after him.
Well, yeah. I mean, I don't know whether that's strictly true. I think that the owner, is a Greek, and he's very temperamental in terms of football. He owns Olympiakos, one of the biggest clubs in Greece, and he's not frightened to hire and fire. Okay, and we got to the stage when, in the middle of the season, when the things weren't going very well, a lot of defeats.
Yeah.
That the press was saying that Steve Cooper was going to be going, and what he did was he sprung the surprise by giving him a new contract for 3 years.
But why do you think he did that? Because that, if you've seen it in in the game itself. You get managers that are useless for no fault of their own or whatever, or fault of their own, and then the owners will go, that's it, boom, get rid. Move. Why do you reckon hang on to him?
He did it to silence the press, I think, and all the rumour mongering that was going on. But there was 29,000 people who went every week would have killed him if he'd have sacked him.
You believe that?
Absolutely.
Why do you believe that?
He is. You go and listen to when they're singing about Stevie Cooper.
Yeah.
When he comes out, there's 29,000 people. Well, 27,000 plus the visitors singing that when he comes out, and he comes and that is very loud. And he is to the present generation is what Brian Clough was to my generation, if you like, my younger generation, when I was younger. So he's a cult hero, and he said that he and his family will be ever grateful to the Forest supporters.
Yeah, he did, yeah.
And then so we got the new contract, and we didn't get, so that cut the press out, cut the rumour mongering, and then we went a little bit longer, and we haven't won any more games. And then we, the owner said, right, things have got to improve immediately. All right, because it was and we lost the next 3 games. But that was the end of it. There was no more.
Yeah.
And then get some players back from injury. You know, because when you hear him talk, he'll never you'll never blame injuries.
No.
We've had, I think that my son-in-law was telling me that we've had something like various injuries, about 45 all season. You know, we signed someone from Bayern Munich at the end of last season, and he'd not played all season. He had a broken leg. Now, why we bought someone with a broken leg, I don't know, and that's none of my business.
Yeah.
We had Dean Henderson on Lane, the goalkeeper. He was injured, and then he didn't play anymore in the season. Ryan Yates, Ryan Yates is our midfield biter. He's the one who sticks his foot in and gets. And without him, we are not as, in my view, he needs to play. So yeah, there were 29,000. So he thought, or someone advised him, mate, if you kick him out, there's going to be 0 people turn up.
Oh, okay.
Oh yes. Yeah, there'll be a lot of season tickets gone, and
Right.
well, yeah, that's a threat, because it's about a club, right? You support your club, but people will get the managers out, right? The crowd will boo, right? If you go to Forest now, and I think that Forest crowd are the most supportive crowd in the Premiership. I watched the noisiest. Okay, I've not been away, and I've been away games since Hillsborough, but I know people who are who go away, and you can hear what Steve Cooper says about them singing all the way to the end, even when they lost 4-0 at Leicester. Okay, and that really was when they started about he was going to go. They were just chanting his name all through, right through the end. Right.
Yeah.
And you look. I watched Leeds yesterday against West Ham, and they were losing, and they were silent. And as soon as West Ham scored their second goal, they started to leave, and that's the difference.
Yes, it's an interesting remark that you make, because, like you say, without your supporters, you've got nothing.
Supporters are your club.
But that is it, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's that passion. Like you growing up from a young lad at the age of 12,
Yeah.
I mean, you're still there.
Yeah. Well, it's your team, isn't it? Whoever it is, it's. I've never wanted to support Manchester United or Liverpool. I always like to watch what Notts County are doing. I like to watch what Mansfield Town are doing. And I've been to County, and I've been to Mansfield, and when we lived in the south of England, I used to go to Stevenage Borough, and I used to go to Barnet, and I was Queen's Park Rangers when I worked in London, but always used to come back on Saturdays from London to Forest.
Let me ask you a question then, because it's been noted. Someone's actually put it out that asked Steve the question. Do you think this is the best team that you've put out all season? What would your opinion be?
What, the team we put out on Saturday?
Yeah.
It was probably the strongest of the people that we've got available.
So if it was the strongest, yeah. In my mind, there's a little bit of a reservation in your mind, thinking, what about if so and so was here? So who would you have put in?
No, I wouldn't criticise any of them, really. You had someone like Joe Worrell who struggled a bit, but has come in at the end and has been absolutely magnificent. We bought a centre half at Christmas from Atletico Madrid called Felipe, a Brazilian. He's been absolutely fantastic. We had a left back from Atletico Madrid in Spain, a Brazilian again called Renan Lodi, and when he first started to play, he was poor, and you couldn't figure out what the hell was going on with him. Okay, now he's played, I think he's played now 27 times altogether, and he's been absolutely magnificent. And he was in tears at the end of the game. It
must be difficult for them, I mean, they play a totally different game of football, don't they?
Yeah, they're in a different country. They don't speak the language, right? So if you imagine that our back defence could be an Englishman, a Brazilian, a Nigerian, a Scotsman, and another. Well, our central defenders could be English, Scottish, Nigerian, African, Brazilian. Like, some of them don't speak English, and they've got to communicate.
How do they do it? But how do they get the communication
I don't know how they
through?
do it. No, and the goalkeeper, right? We got him in. He's come from Paris Saint-Germain. He doesn't speak much English. Never been played in England before. Never played under this sort of pressure, where when they suddenly realised, and that Lodi has said it on Twitter, that he never realised what he was up for. He came to Nottingham, he said, and it's on Twitter if people want to look, to get some game time so he could get played for Brazil in the World Cup. Right?
That's right, yeah.
That's what he wanted to do. And when he got here, he'd left his home and to do all of this, new country, and he found out that he didn't get the World Cup. He didn't get into the Brazil squad.
Right.
But he found a completely different challenge, and I didn't realise how welcome he'd been made and what the challenge was to get this club to stay in the Premiership. Okay, and that caused him to. He was in tears at the end of the pitch.
Yeah.
And that's terrific, and that's the spirit that Steve Cooper has said that all the way through these guys have been great. Okay, they've had to when they've come into training, they've always been at the same level with the same intentions. There's no egos or anything like that, and they deserve what they've got. But on the other hand, I think the fans deserve what they've given.
Yeah, Steve Cooper's very passionate about the fans, isn't he?
Absolutely passionate. You can't do without. I mean, when the team come out now, when they're about to kick off, the Forest song has always been Mull of Kintyre. Okay, and even when in my youth I used to go and stand in the Trent End, that was when the Mull of Kintyre was started in the 60s and the 70s.
Oh, wow.
That's when they started. When Paul McCartney had the hit with Mull and Kintyre, that's when it became the Forest song. So it's the first verse is Mull and Kintyre, and then the second, when that stops, the crowd are singing on their own city ground, Miss Rolling Over the Trent. Okay, and that's the Mull of Kintyre, and you hear that with 27,000 people singing that.
Yeah.
And it's pretty awesome. The crowd have been fantastic. I sit in the main stand. I sit in the upper tier of the Brian Clough, where everybody normally sits quietly. They didn't on Saturday. They were standing up.
So just take us through that. Yeah, just take us through the atmosphere. You know, when you got there, I mean.
Well, first of all, we go to the fan zone, which is the rugby club, and there's a huge marquee there where the rugby club have the parking, and they have a bar, and everyone's in the bar, all the Forest. So it's huge. There must be 400 or 500 people in there.
What was the atmosphere like?
Yeah, good. Well, and they're watching, and Brighton are losing. Brighton are beating Everton 1-0, and we think, yeah, that's all right. It's still going to go to the last day of that, and then 99 minutes when we're all about to leave to go to the game, Everton equalise, so it makes it slightly different. For one reason or another, I don't know why, I was confident that we'd beat Arsenal anyway, and I can tell you why. So we go to the ground, and in we go, and it's getting noisy, and then Steve Cooper comes out first, and then you're having his song, and then there are flags and banners.
It's a place erupted.
Yeah, a very noisy place, and all through the game, and then when the final whistle went, it erupted again, and there's a like a routine of songs that they sing, that they play, and everyone sings and the crowd. You know, they went round, just like at Wembley. There were 34,000 at Wembley, and you know, it was an experience never to be forgotten. To my mind, this equalled it on.
Really?
Yeah, because I couldn't believe it that we'd actually got we'd beat Arsenal.
Yeah.
And I thought we would, and I'll tell you why. That we lost 5-0 at Arsenal away, and
so let me just ask a question. Yeah, that's a huge difference, isn't it? They lose 5-0.
Yeah.
One of the most important games of their life. Yeah. Turns up, and they smash them.
Yeah. But 5-0 was at the beginning of the season when all these guys didn't know each other. Were all over the shop.
So you reckon that was a?
Oh yeah, I mean it took us ages to get sorted out.
Right.
Well, it probably took us until about 5 games to the end of the season to get sorted out. But when I looked at Arsenal playing Brighton like early on in the week, and they got a guy called Martinelli, a Brazilian winger, and he's quick. Okay, and he got his foot in a boot. So I thought, oh, he ain't going to be playing then, and he wasn't. And so they didn't have any pace. They've got good players.
Yeah.
Okay, but they haven't got pace, and we only had 18% of the ball. Okay, but they never looked like scoring really, and our lines, whereas earlier on in the season our back line was like a zigzag. Our back line of defenders.
Yeah.
They were in a solid line of 5. And then there was another line in front of them, and then another line in front of them when Arsenal had the ball. And we rely on the breakaway, and that's what we did. They made a mistake, we scored, and we could have had a couple more.
So what did you think to that first 20 minutes of the game?
Yeah, it was all right. Yeah, I said to them, I'd sit next to a lady and her husband, and when they scored, said that's great. I said, well, I just wish it was 89 minutes and 30 seconds. But the difference is now, if that had been, I don't know, 8 weeks ago, 9 weeks ago, we'd have probably lost, because we were in the lead against Everton and drew. We were in the lead against Newcastle and lost in the last minute. We were in the lead. We were drawing with Bournemouth, and they won in the very last minute by silly mistakes. One was a penalty against Newcastle. He handled it as it crossed in the air in the injury time, and the Bournemouth, you know, Scott McKennie, an excellent defender, left-footed defender, trying to pass it back to the goalie with his right foot and didn't make it, so they scored. So we've given some silly points away, right, which made it easier. But the other thing about it, beating Arsenal, was that we've beaten Liverpool at home, we drew with Manchester City at home, and we drew with Chelsea at home. Okay, we lost to Tottenham at home, and Manchester United are in a different league to us. But Manchester City was they didn't play particularly well, but still they had the ball much more than we did. But so that 1 point could make a lot of difference at the end of the season if none of the others have got any. So I was confident in my own mind that we'd beat Arsenal.
That's incredible, because you know, back in the old days, you know, the 70s, the 80s, and everything, they were the big names, weren't they? 90s, you know, you get all those
teams. A big name. We won the European Cup, you know.
You did.
I mean, there's some quite good songs going on that they taunt the visiting supporters about. You'll never win the European Cup or the Champions League, and then against Arsenal, the song was to the Boney M music, "Where's Your Title Gone?" because they've been so far ahead in the league, you know, that they lost the title, so they were singing "Where's Your Title Gone?" So Yeah, so that there's lots of lots of good things. So it was a cracking day, and as I say, that I never slept on Saturday night, that's for sure. And I had to keep reading it and listening to it and watching it to make sure that I wasn't dreaming.
So you actually thought it was a dream?
Well, yeah, you look and think, well, my God, this is what we've done. You didn't realise when you came out. There was a kid when we walked out, and there was a kid in front of us, a teenager with his dad, and he said, "Oh, are we safe then?" I said, "Yeah, we're bloody hell. Excuse me, thank you. We are safe, yeah."
Yeah.
They cannot get 37 points. They can get 36, I think, Everton.
Yeah.
Or, yeah. But if it had gone to the last day and you're in the hands of God, what's going to happen?
Yeah.
Our goal difference, if somebody had finished level points with us, our goal difference is far inferior to theirs.
Right.
The goal difference is worth a point.
But as you say, I mean, you're going forward, aren't you? You've got one game in hand left.
One game that they'll go and enjoy, and then they look to try to, there's been a lot of upheaval in the back,
Yeah.
But what it means is that this allows them, as Steve Cooper said, to move forward. They can.
What do you think he means by that?
Well, they will be able to. There's a ground redevelopment. They're going to, and they want to build a team. They want to build a club, right?
Yeah.
That is a Premiership club. Okay. The owner is very ambitious. Okay. He doesn't want to be just a Premiership club. He wants to be a top Premiership club.
Right. But
okay, you won't do that straight away.
No, right.
Okay. So the thing is to be established. We won't be signing 22 players. We know in my view, there's some that are going to have to go.
Who do you reckon's got to go?
Well, yeah, some are out of contract anyway. Jesse Lingard, unfortunately, I think will go. Because he hasn't been able to do anything really, and he's been the top. He came as like the marquee signing, but it didn't work out.
Yeah.
The ones who are out of contract will go. I think we need to try to sign Dean Henderson, the goalkeeper from Manchester United, on a permanent contract, and also Lodi from Atletico Madrid on a permanent contract. And then we'll see, because they'll come up with they know much better the players that they want.
Yeah.
But when you're in the Premiership, players will come to you. Okay, there'll be young players who will know him or want to play for him. There are players who want to play for a particular manager. So we'll see, but it's to establish ourselves in the next season. Try and establish ourselves. It's the toughest league in the world.
Yeah, right.
I mean, you don't enjoy the games. You don't see many wins at home.
Yeah.
That we have won at home. We need to be better away, but we have got better away. We lost at Liverpool 3-2. We lost at Brentford 2-1. But both of those we should have.
You should have had to.
Should have drawn.
Right.
We drew at Chelsea, and luckily our home form has been good. We got 29,000. If we had 29,000 people go away, then it might have been different. But you're not allowed. You're only allowed so many to go.
It's a shame, though, isn't it? Because, like you say, I mean, restricting the fans. Because if them fans do truly lift that team.
Yeah, they've lifted Forest more than any team. I watched Leicester last week. They got booed off half time.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Forest have never been booed off. If you don't like it, and what Steve Cooper said in one of his interviews, right, the crowd sometimes don't like what I'm doing, right, or who I'm picking, and he said that's their prerogative to do that. I said, but they've never taken it out on me for doing it.
Yeah.
Where in previous years have been where Chris Hooton, you got booed off the pitch at half time. Forest fans were very fickle.
Right.
But not now, because we seem to have a new generation of people there, and most of them are well fueled by the beer in all the places around before we go in. So it's somewhere to go, And I read something tonight where they were saying one of the new signings at the beginning of the season said, "What's it like to play at the City Ground?" He said, "Well, you go in there, mate, and you see, because it must be if you've got 29,000 people and you're the opposition and you make a bad pass or something, it's got to play in your mind a little bit, hasn't it?
Yeah, I thought so.
Because Manchester United playing 75,000, but I don't think 75,000 make as much noise as 29,000 do.
Wow.
It's a much smaller stadium.
Yeah. Well, listen, let's wrap it there, because it's been fascinating talking to you.
Yeah, okay.
Like you say, because I mean, from a boy at the age of 12 to how old are you now?
76 this year.
76.
Yeah.
And you've never waned in all those years?
No. I've been to a European Cup final in Madrid. Interesting little story when we got to the first European Cup final when Trevor Francis scored the winner. We lived in Nebworth in Hertfordshire, worked in London, and we got all set down to watch it on the television, and bottle of wine ready, and just kicked off, and there was a terrific thunderstorm and it cut all the power. So I went into the garage and I had to sit in my car and I listened to it on the car. Yeah, listened to it on the car radio. And then I said to Linda when came out, said, if I ever get to the final again, I'm going. Okay, and the very next year we got to the final and I worked in London, so one of the guys who I worked with went with me. We left work at dinner time. We went to Gatwick Airport, got on a Freddie Laker TriStar, went to Madrid, and it was at the Bernabeu Stadium. Watched the game, came back. After the game we went for a meal, then we flew back early hours of the morning, caught the tube, well, it might have been Heathrow, I'm not sure, anyway, and caught the tube back to Holborn, had our breakfast, and then 9 o'clock went back to work.
No, really?
Yeah, and my ticket and the picture.
You still got it?
Up there.
Oh, good heavens.
Yeah, the ticket and the picture of us having a meal. Yeah, and that was, so I've been to a European Cup final, I've seen them win the championship, I've seen them win the league, I've seen them come up I've seen them relegated, right, I've seen the bad times as well as the good, and I've seen this season. I sat there for 15 minutes one game. Ole Gunnar Solskjaer came on for Manchester United as a sub and he scored a hat-trick in 15 minutes at the end. We lost that.
Soul destroying.
I took my dad once, I only took him once. We used to stand on the east stand along the side, so it's a long while ago. And we lost 7-1 at home to Birmingham City.
What did he say? What did the old man say?
Well, he didn't say anything, I just said, you won't be coming again. Yeah. So my dad always liked Forest football, but he only went once, and I'm sorry, you won't come again. So, and he didn't. So and then I was at Hillsborough, of course.
Yeah.
Which wasn't very nice.
No.
So, yeah, you got once as your team. So I'm a football nut. I watch any football every night, but if Forest lose, I don't watch Match of the Day when they're in the Premiership.
Right.
Okay. If it's in the years, the people anybody listen to this used to think about the Nottingham Football Post on a Saturday.
Right. It's
Yeah.
back some, yeah.
If they lost, I never bought it. Never bought the Sunday paper if they lost. No. So yeah.
Nottingham Forest through and through.
Nottingham Forest, in those famous letters COYR, which is on the back of the shirt. Come on, you Reds.
Come on, you Reds. And on that note, we're going to say thank you very much, Ian, and we'll talk to you again. Don't worry.
Okay, no problem.
Remember, subscribe to the channel. If you want to talk football, let's have an interview.